The rain hit the city in sheets, drenching everything in a slick neon glow. It was the kind of night where bad decisions felt easier, where the darkness folded over itself, hiding things that didn't want to be seen. Eric Vance wasn't planning on getting involved in anything tonight. He wasn't a hero. Hell, most of the time, he was just a guy trying not to make rent payments late. But the thing about being a guy was that sometimes you had to do something stupid just to prove you weren't completely dead inside. And this? This was exactly that kind of stupid. The woman was running, her bare feet barely touching the rain-slick pavement. Her movement was wrong, like the world couldn't quite decide how much gravity should apply to her. Behind her, 4 men in tactical gear were closing in, moving with the heavy certainty of people who knew they were going to win. Eric could have kept walking. He should have kept walking. But instead, his feet had other ideas. He stepped forward just as one of the men raised something that looked way too high-tech to be friendly. "Hey," Eric called, raising a hand. "I don't know what's happening here, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's not legal. So, maybe let's not." The man turned, flicked his wrist, and something crackled in the air. Eric barely had time to register what it was before pain erupted in his chest. It was like being hit with a baseball bat made of lightning. His legs went out from under him, the world tilted sideways, and he hit the ground hard enough to send a fresh bolt of agony through his ribs. The taste of copper flooded his mouth. He tried to move. He couldn't. Through the haze of pain, he saw the woman stop. She looked at him, her strange, too large eyes unreadable, and then she turned back. Eric wanted to tell her to run. He wanted to say, "Don't be an idiot. I'm not worth it." But all that came out was a pathetic, gurgled wheeze. And then things got weird. She lifted her hand. A pulse rippled through the air, invisible but heavy, like the moment right before a thunderclap. The man closest to her staggered back as if struck, his weapon crackling and shorting out. The others hesitated. She looked down at Eric, then pressed her fingers to his forehead. And suddenly, nothing. No pain, no cold, no rain. Just darkness. Eric woke up to the quiet hum of electricity, the sound of raindrops ticking against metal. The world was blurry, and for one confusing moment, he thought he was back in his apartment, waking up on his couch after one too many cheap beers. Then he saw her. She was sitting cross-legged a few feet away, watching him with an expression that was either curiosity or mild disappointment. "Ah, hell," Eric muttered, pushing himself up. His hand went to his ribs. No pain, no wound, just his torn, rain-soaked hoodie. Either I'm dead, or I just got abducted by a really attractive sci-fi horror movie. "You are alive." Her voice was strange, layered, like 2 voices speaking at once. One soft, one vibrating just beneath human hearing. "Good news." Eric let his head drop back against the metal surface beneath him. "Bad news is, I think I wet myself back there, but hey, let's focus on the positives." She tilted her head. "Your humor is a defense mechanism. Yeah, well, you zap a guy half to death and he starts compensating." She didn't respond immediately, just studied him. Then, without warning, she reached out, pressed her palm flat against his chest. And suddenly, everything changed. Heat surged through him, like liquid fire under his skin. His vision sharpened. The hum of the room became louder. No, not just the hum. Everything. The electric current in the walls, the barely perceptible scrape of metal expanding under the temperature shift. He could feel it all, like some invisible thread had stitched him into the very fabric of the world. Eric jerked back, breathing hard. "What the hell was that?" "I gave you something," she said. Well, great. But maybe next time ask before you drop whatever alien upgrade you just installed in me. She regarded him with an expression that suggested she was reconsidering every decision that had led her here. It was necessary. Oh, sure. I love when people say that. It always means something really reassuring. Eric swung his legs over the edge of whatever makeshift bed he'd been lying on. His body felt different, like he was more than himself. He turned back to her. So, what's your name, mysterious, glowing space woman? There was a hesitation, a flicker of something behind those shifting alien eyes. Elara? Well, Elara, Eric exhaled, rubbing his face. As much as I enjoy the whole waking up in strange places with strange women thing, I'm gonna need a little more information before I start panicking properly. Like, what the hell happened back there? Who were those guys? And most importantly, he held up a finger. Do I have superpowers now? Because I feel like I might have superpowers. She didn't blink. We need to leave. Yeah, okay, but... The sound of footsteps echoed from beyond the metal walls. Heavy, measured. The kind of walk that belonged to people who carried weapons. Eric's pulse jumped. Elara stood, moving toward the door. She glanced back at him. If you do not wish to die again, I suggest you follow. Eric groaned. Oh, fantastic. I love being in over my head. He pushed himself up, wobbling only slightly. Guess I'm running for my life now. Again. Elara didn't respond. She just pulled open the door, revealing the shadowed corridors beyond. And with that, Eric had a feeling his night was only getting started. Eric had spent a lot of time in questionable places. Crappy apartments, bars that should have been condemned, the occasional shady back alley when a poker game went very sideways. But this was new. The corridor stretched ahead, dimly lit, pulsing with a faint, bluish glow like the walls themselves were breathing. The air smelled metallic, charged, like the moment right before a lightning strike. The surface beneath his feet wasn't concrete, wasn't metal either. It felt wrong under his boots, too smooth, too perfect. He was pretty sure this wasn't Earth-standard architecture, which meant he was definitely inside an alien spaceship. And he wasn't alone. The footsteps behind them were getting closer. Heavy boots, armed men. The same ones who had tried to kill him earlier. Oh, great, Eric muttered as he jogged after Elara. I wake up with superpowers, and we immediately go straight to the part where people shoot at me. Can I at least get a tutorial first? Elara didn't slow down. You are adjusting faster than anticipated. Not sure if that's a compliment or an observation before you tell me something horrifying. She turned a sharp corner, and Eric had to speed up to keep pace. His body felt different. He wasn't out of breath like he should have been. His legs didn't burn. His heart wasn't hammering like he'd just sprinted through a nightmare. It was like he wasn't just running. He was moving with purpose, like his body already knew what to do. That thought was unsettling. Elara stopped suddenly, pressing a hand against the wall. A section of it shimmered and vanished, revealing a small hexagonal chamber. Inside, she said. Oh, cool. Mysterious sci-fi room, Eric muttered as he stepped in. This definitely won't end in a horrifying discovery about my insides. Elara followed, and the wall sealed shut behind them just as the sound of the pursuing soldiers rounded the corner. Eric held his breath. Outside, the footsteps slowed, then stopped. For a few heartbeats, the silence stretched. Then, muffled through the wall, someone muttered, "Where the hell did they go?" Another voice responded, low and tense. "She's a kinetic manipulator. They could be inside the walls for all we know." Eric turned to Elara, mouthing, "Kinetic manipulator?" She ignored him. A third voice spoke, this one sharper, more commanding. "Spread out. We need them alive." Eric frowned. That was new. He was pretty sure their interest in keeping him breathing had expired the moment one of them shanked him back in the alley. The voices faded. The soldiers moved on. Elara exhaled, pressing her fingers to the wall. The surface shimmered again, revealing another path, a downward slope, spiraling deeper into the ship. "Okay," Eric said, holding up a hand. "Pause. Time out. We just ran from gunmen, and now we're going deeper into the creepy spaceship? I feel like we should be doing the opposite of that." Elara gave him a look that suggested he was an idiot. "There is no out. You will not survive if you leave." "Well, that's just fantastic. Love hearing that. Definitely calming." He sighed, rubbing his temple. "Okay, new question. Who the hell were those guys? And why did one of them say they need me alive now? Pretty sure their original plan was just stabbing me to death and calling it a day." Elara hesitated. For the first time, something flickered across her face that looked a lot like uncertainty. "They did not know," she admitted. Eric blinked. "Did not know what?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she gestured toward the downward path. "We cannot stay here." "Oh, sure. Let's continue our downward spiral." Love that metaphor. Still, he followed her. Because really, what choice did he have? The corridor led to a wider chamber, the walls lined with faintly glowing patterns, like circuitry, but organic, alive. Eric felt it the second they entered, the hum, the pull. Like something unseen was listening to him. Elara stopped near a circular console in the center of the room. "This ship," she said, "is not abandoned. It is waiting." Eric squinted. "Waiting for what?" Elara turned toward him, her gaze unreadable. "You." There was a long beat of silence. Then Eric let out a short laugh. Oh. See, this is the part where I find out I've been chosen for some cosmic destiny, right? Because that's exactly what I signed up for when I got mugged by an alien in an alley." She didn't even blink. "You were not the one chosen." That shut him up. Elara placed a hand on the console. The room shifted around them, the patterns in the walls glowing brighter, pulsing in a slow, steady rhythm. "The enhancement I gave you," she said, "was not meant for you." Eric swallowed. "Okay, see, that is a sentence you should never say to someone who just found out he has superpowers." "It was meant for another," she continued. "A designated host. A trained host." Her gaze flickered over him. "Not you." "Well," Eric muttered, running a hand through his still damp hair, "that's just hurtful." Elara ignored him. "You are adapting faster than expected, but it will not be enough." "Enough for what?" She hesitated again. Then, before she could answer, something changed. The ship's hum deepened, vibrating through the floor. The walls darkened, the light shifting from cool blue to a deep, pulsing red. And then, distantly, through the metal corridors, a low mechanical voice echoed, "Target acquired." Eric turned to Elara. "So, just to clarify, when you said not enough, did you mean immediately?" "Because, yeah." This was definitely starting to feel like an immediate problem. The walls thrummed. A low mechanical pulse filled the chamber, vibrating through Eric's bones like the bass line of a song he really didn't want to dance to. "Target acquired." That phrase, spoken in that cold metallic monotone, was officially in Eric's top 3 things he never wanted to hear again. Right next to "Sir, your card has been declined, and we need to talk." He turned to Elara, who, to his increasing concern, didn't look surprised. "Okay," Eric said, pointing a very accusatory finger at her. "If this was something you were expecting, you probably should have led with it." Elara didn't answer. Instead, she moved to the console, pressing her palm against its smooth surface. Symbols he couldn't read flickered to life beneath her fingers. "I'm serious," Eric continued, stepping toward her. "If you knew a creepy space PA system was going to say target acquired, that means you knew someone was tracking me. Which, by the way, is super important information for the guy who just found out he's an accidental alien experiment." She still didn't answer. The ship groaned, as if adjusting itself. The red glow intensified. Eric felt something shift in his chest. An odd, pulsing awareness, like the ship was watching him. And that was when the sealing hatch opened. With a hiss of depressurization, something dropped down. A machine, spider-like, its segmented limbs unfolding with eerie precision. A sleek, angular body. No visible eyes, just a single, glowing core in the center of its chest. And it was moving fast. "Oh, hell no," Eric muttered, dodging just as a thin, needle-like appendage shot toward him. It buried itself in the floor where he'd been standing, sizzling as it retracted. "What is that?" Eric yelped, backpedaling. Elara was already moving. She twisted her wrist, and the air itself bent. The machine jerked sideways, as if an invisible force had yanked it mid-strike. It recovered fast, too fast. It skittered across the floor, limbs unfolding, then lunged again. Eric had exactly 1 second to react. And somehow, he moved before he even thought about it. His body twisted, the motion instinctive, too smooth to be natural. His hand shot out, and without understanding how, he caught the machine's striking limb in midair. The metal hissed under his grip. Something in his palm pulsed. Heat, light, something alive. And then the machine short-circuited. Electricity arced along its body, crackling up its limbs. The glowing core dimmed. A second later, it collapsed, its legs twitching uselessly as smoke curled from its joints. Eric stood there, chest heaving, still holding the now limp appendage. "Oh," he breathed. "Oh, that was awesome." Elara was staring at him. "You manipulated the charge," she said. "Redirected its current." "I did what now?" Eric blinked at her, then down at his hand. He flexed his fingers. There was no pain, no sign that he'd just grabbed a high-voltage alien murder bot. But he could still feel something, like static lingering beneath his skin. "Your abilities are developing faster than anticipated," Elara said, stepping toward him. "Right, yeah, we keep coming back to that," Eric said, rubbing his temple. "Real reassuring. Love that for me." He nudged the smoking machine with his boot. It didn't move. "Okay, so that thing," he continued, pointing. "That was trying to kill me, right? Not like, give me a really aggressive high five?" Alara's gaze flickered to the sealing hatch. It was a drone, a scout, which means a distant mechanical clang echoed from above. Then another, then many. Eric groaned. "Oh, fantastic! I killed one, and now its friends are coming." "They will not stop," Elara said. "They will send more until you are neutralized." "Neutralized," Eric repeated. "See? That's a very threatening way to say murdered." Another clang, closer this time. Elara turned back to the console, her fingers flying across the symbols. "We must activate the ship." Eric blinked. "The ship isn't on?" "It is dormant." "Why is it dormant?" She shot him a sharp look. "Because it was waiting for its intended host." "Oh, right. The other guy." Eric let out a short, humorless laugh. "Man, it really sucks being the second choice for an ancient alien spaceship." Elara ignored him, her hands moving in precise, rapid gestures over the console. The walls trembled, the red glow shifting back to blue. Something deep in the ship stirred. Eric felt it, a pulse through his chest, a resonance that wasn't sound, but something deeper, something in his very cells. Then, abruptly, the walls brightened, systems engaged. A low hum vibrated through the ship, like an engine waking up from a long sleep. Eric felt it ripple through his bones, his breath hitching. "Okay," he said, stepping back. "That felt weird. Not a fan." Elara exhaled, lowering her hands. "The ship is responding to you." Eric pointed at himself. "To me? I thought you said I wasn't the chosen one." "You are not," she said simply, "but you are all we have." Before he could argue, the ceiling hatch burst open. 5 more machines dropped down, their limbs clicking against the metal floor. Their glowing cores pulsed in eerie unison. Eric tensed. His whole body buzzed, that strange energy beneath his skin rising again. One of the machines tilted its head, its monotone voice cutting through the air. "Secondary host identified. Termination protocol engaged." Eric exhaled. "Yeah, I really don't like that sentence." The machines lunged. And this time, Eric was ready. Eric had never been in a fight where he didn't expect to lose. That was the thing about being an unremarkable guy in a world full of people stronger, faster, and more trained than him. He was used to taking a punch. But this time? This time, something was different. The 5 machines lunged, their sleek limbs cutting through the air with surgical precision. Eric didn't think. He didn't plan. His body moved. The first bot struck. He dodged. Not just in a clumsy last-second way, but in a way that felt measured, like he had seen the attack before it happened. His muscles twisted, reacting to something deeper than instinct, something built into him. The second one lunged and he caught it. Metal met his hands, but instead of burning, the energy surged through him. The machine twitched violently, its glowing core dimming as its power drained away. "Oh, hell yes," Eric grinned. "I'm officially a badass." Elara, standing at the console, gave him a sharp look. "Do not get overconfident." "Too late," Eric muttered, shoving the disabled drone into another. The impact sent them both crashing to the ground in a tangled heap of twitching limbs. The remaining 3 adjusted their approach. One of them extended a sleek, needle-thin weapon from its arm, humming with a dangerous blue glow. Eric's brain supplied a helpful thought. "That's probably a problem." The bot fired. The energy pulse shot toward him, fast. But Eric didn't dodge. He reached. For a split second, the world slowed. The pulse of blue light hung in the air, caught between movement and stillness. Eric felt it, the raw energy buzzing like static along his fingertips. And then, instinctively, he did something impossible. He redirected it. The pulse twisted mid-air, arcing away from him and slamming back into the machine that had fired it. The drone spasmed, its core flickering before it collapsed, completely fried. Eric blinked. "Oh," he breathed. "I really gotta figure out how I did that." The last 2 machines hesitated, their heads tilting in eerie unison. Elara seized the moment. She pressed a final command into the console. The entire ship shuddered. "The activation sequence is complete," she said. "This vessel is now fully online." Eric didn't have time to ask what that meant, because the ship moved. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through his chest. The walls brightened, the circuitry pulsing like a living thing. The remaining machines twitched, their cores flickering erratically. Then, one by one, they shut down. The ship had cut them off. Eric exhaled, shoulders slumping. "Oh, thank God." He turned to Elara. "So, what did you do?" She straightened. The ship recognizes you as a pilot? I'm sorry, what? She gestured around them. It has accepted your connection. The original host is no longer required. You are now its primary operator. Eric stared at her. So what you're saying is, I accidentally became the captain of an alien spaceship? Elara gave him a look. Yes? Okay, see, this is why I don't leave my apartment. It took Eric an hour to process everything. And by process, he meant alternating between stunned silence and panicked rambling while Elara silently judged him. The gist was this. 1. The enhancement Elara had given him had permanently bonded with his physiology. He wasn't human anymore, not fully. 2. The ship, designed for an elite, genetically chosen host, had recognized him as a viable replacement. 3. The people hunting Elara hadn't just been after her. They'd been after this ship. 4. Since he was now the ship's pilot, that meant they would be after him too. Eric groaned, running a hand down his face. So, let me get this straight. I saved you, got stabbed, died, woke up mutated, got chased by murder drones, and now I'm in charge of a spaceship I don't know how to fly? Elara nodded. Awesome. Love that for me. She tilted her head. You adapt quickly. Well, yeah, he said dryly, because the alternative is freaking out, and I feel like we don't have time for that. A pause. Then, surprisingly, Elara gave a small, almost amused nod. That is acceptable logic. Eric sighed, stretching out his arms. So, what happens now? Do I get a cool space outfit? A manual? A button that says warp speed or something? Elara regarded him for a long moment. Then she stepped toward the console, touching a symbol that glowed beneath her fingertips. The ship responded. Outside, something rumbled. The walls shimmered, the interior lights adjusting as an unseen system came to life. A holographic interface appeared before Eric, displaying star charts, planets, coordinates. His stomach dropped. Oh, he whispered. Oh, we're not on Earth anymore. Elara turned to him. No. Eric exhaled. So what? I'm just a space guy now? She blinked. A space guy. You know, a dude. In space? He gestured vaguely at the ceiling. Like, I had a life, Elara. I had a job. Well, a bartending gig, but still. I had a normal, non-space guy existence. And now, apparently, I'm an intergalactic fugitive who owns a spaceship? She considered this. Then, with perfect seriousness, she said, Yes? Eric stared at her. Then he let out a laugh. A real one. Because honestly, this was insane, but it was also kind of amazing. He looked at the interface again, the holographic stars stretching out before him. The universe was open. And maybe, just maybe, he was okay with that. All right, he muttered, stepping up to the console. Let's see what this baby can do. Elara raised an eyebrow. You do not know how to fly it. Minor detail. He reached forward, pressing a glowing symbol. The ship shuddered. The hum deepened. And then, with a flash of light, they jumped. Epilogue. Far beyond the edges of the system, in the dark expanse of deep space, a single transmission was sent. The message was short, simple. He has the ship. A pause. Then a single cold response. We're coming for him. And just like that, Eric's life as an ordinary guy was officially over. But something told him. The real adventure was just beginning.